We are now joined by Gonçalo from Boombit Games. How are you doing today?
Fine, very fine. Very well,
Fantastic.
thank you very much.
Well, we spoke at the last London conference as well. Has much changed in the world of Boombit Games? What is it you folks do for people who aren't aware?
Yes, we are a mobile game publisher. We publish games all the way from hyper-casual to mid-core. Recently, we started as well going into the service business where we are like selling our VI, our playables, our user acquisition as a service. But mostly we are a developer and a publisher of mobile games.
That's interesting. That's something new from the last time we talked, but we'll come to that in a second. In terms of the actual games publishing of it all and also developing, working with developers, we've had this slight wobble in the industry over the last couple of years. We were in the middle of it when we talked last year. How are things looking now from the developer side? Because the reports that we got was that funding was really drying up and it was difficult to get any VC coming in and actually giving you money to develop a game. People are laying off lots of their staff members and so forth. It still seems to be sort of happening in the background. Are we seeing an end to this at any point? Are you seeing this reflected in your clients, the people you do business with?
I think definitely seeing at the end of it right now, especially in the next couple of months, next couple of quarters. I honestly think that the main difference is the fact that now people are more conscious about the cash in, cash out dynamics of mobile gaming. If you think about 4 years ago, you could invest as much money as you wanted. You're gonna have a 2 years, 3 years break-even window. Like that money would come eventually. Because there was a lot of funding, right? There was a lot of investments going around. So people were willing to wait 2 or 3 years for that cash to come back. Nowadays, that's why I think investment is a bit tougher because people need to have a game that is somehow cashing in slightly sooner, or at least showing a very strong promise of that money to come back. It's not just investing on user acquisition and then wait for retention to come after. So you do have to have a slightly stronger product, making sure that what you are selling or what you're showing to the VCs, it's something strong. And people are going back on their break-even windows. Even big titles that had maybe 2 years, 1 year, you see that they want to get the money in a much shorter amount of time. And I think that's the biggest change.
So they're looking for that return that bit sooner. So people need to bear that in mind if they're pitching stuff.
Exactly. I think that the multiplier of the potential on gaming is getting slightly smaller because the people know how big a mobile game can be. So your break-even window cannot keep being bigger and bigger. So you need to get the money back sooner, in my opinion.
Well, you mentioned, obviously you've been a publisher for quite some time, and you mentioned this notion of sort of using what you've built and then offering it to other people as a service, as a tool, kind of almost slightly disconnected from yourselves. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we built the past 2, 4, 5 years, we built all this backbone, right, of publishing, right? Both on user acquisition, monetization, BI, playables, everything around, even on the SDK side, right? We build all these things for ourselves to publish a game and to be as successful as possible, including LTV prediction, and we build this big machine. And then we start looking around and seeing that maybe other publishers could use a little bit of our BI. They're very good at creatives, they're very good on the SDK side, but they're not very good on the BI side. Or maybe other publishers are not very good on the playable side, and they have a pretty good user acquisition team, but they don't have the assets to really scale their titles. And this is where we start seeing that actually there is that potential of us as a publisher to sell as a service parts of this machine that we've built so far, to make sure that at least all of us, all these publishers, if we come together and we start using the best of each publisher, we can have much bigger chances on really succeeding, getting maybe that break-even window on a shorter period. And I think that's where we saw that there was an opportunity.
And this is something that developers can just plug into their games? This is an XDK thing or an API? How does it work?
It definitely depends on what it is. So if it's on the BI side, we only need access to their MMP data, and then they can easily, within 1-2 days integration on our side, have access to our BI and to our predictive LTV immediately. So it's something that quick. Then, for example, on the playable side, on the user acquisition side, is more of a long-term strategy that we need to meet. We need to understand the game, we need to understand the dynamics, and then our teams will help using our tools, them succeed on the playable side, on the user acquisition side. So it's kind of a strategy, more like a strategic partnership, I would say. It really depends.
We've seen the changes that are happening with the European marketplace and this idea that we're trying to move away from just an app store and Google Play model in the West that we tend to rely on. And the idea of alternative app stores popping up all over the place now, and even web stores where developers are saying, just come straight to us, just cut out the middleman. Is that something that affects the way that you approach development and publishing in future? Is it a different landscape now?
Yeah. I think web stores is definitely a talk for the big publishers, right? For publishers that have these insane, loyal, and big daily active users, and at the same time, where the monetization is fully on the IP side. Because most of these partnerships, if you do have a web store for one of your titles, then Apple is gonna hurt you across all the other titles. So it needs to be a decision made on the account level or as for all your titles as one entity. So I think for medium publishers where you have a bit of hyper casual, a bit of hybrid, a bit of idle, where there's a lot of ads still going around as revenue, web stores are not a solution, in my opinion. But when you do have like big publishers, one or two big titles, and it's 100% IP monetized, it's definitely going to be a solution sooner rather than later, right? We know that these big publishers are thinking about these web stores, and some are even going into them at the moment. So for us, I think alternative stores is a much more real solution at the moment, because you also seeing that users are going to these alternative app stores because they have loyalty plans, so they can play still the same game that they would get on Apple or on Google, but they are getting a reward on top. And we are seeing that users are getting loyal to some alternative app stores that at some point is going to start being a niche, right? You can only reach these users if you start using a certain type of alternative app store. And that is something that we are definitely opening our eyes.
That's interesting. Are you seeing success at the moment with a particular kind of monetization strategy? We went through premium and free to play and all the rest of it, and a lot of people are talking about seeing success with more of a hybrid monetization system. From the developers that you work with, or you yourselves as developers, what are you experimenting with? What's working at the moment?
We have everything. So we have from the hyper casuals, like 98% ads. We have even the hybrids and idles, which could go 30% ads or like 60% ads. So that's the middle between hybrid, right? Could be hybrid very IP focused or hybrid very ads focused. And our biggest title is 98% IP. So we really have this experience across all the types of monetization. More and more we are seeing that even for hyper casuals, we are seeing that the IP ratio is increasing slightly because, in my opinion, I think due to privacy, now users are getting more and more loyal to any game that they play. Because if they are on that game, it's because they already took extra steps to download the title, and it's because they are somehow more committed than before. Because before you used to see so many ads, very well targeted to you, so you had a lot of options to jump from game to game. Nowadays, because of privacy, you are seeing less and less what's ideal for you, so you tend to be more loyal to your game.
That's interesting. So you're saying that because the data is yielding less information, therefore the ads are less targeted. Yes. The ads aren't as effective at drawing you away from the game you're playing. Ergo, you spend more time in that game and you get more loyal to it. So in fact, that in a weird way, it's been a positive for certain games.
It's been positive on the retention side, possibly, but still, of course, what you are losing from the revenue that is being generated by the
promotion
side,
of it all,
is not as good, right? So let's imagine that you lost, like, due to privacy, 40% of your eCPMs. It's a big portion, but now the users that are in, even though they are 4% less valuable, they are maybe consuming 5% more IAPs because they're going to stick more into the game. And they become more committed, they become slightly more addicted, and then they maybe want to do a few more IAP purchases they were not doing in the past. So still the difference is negative, of course, because I would prefer to have that 40% increase on ads, but at least that 5-10% increase on IAP is compensating a little bit the loss on the monetization side. Yeah.
Do you feel that situation regarding data restriction is only going to get more severe? I get the feeling that it's going to become more restricted, not less, over time, is a gut feeling. And then So where does that leave you? Is it a case of, are you already working on strategies of how to deal with the next step where you have even less data to manage? Is it about extracting the most from the little that you have?
I think we are taking advantage of what we have right now, using that as, okay, let's make sure that from what we have right now, we're taking the most out of it. Then in the future, if Google goes into a more aggressive privacy manifest, or if Apple makes the Apple restrictions even more intense, then we will need to adapt. So far, we know that Google will sooner or later bring an ATT back, but probably only in 1 year, hopefully. So there's not a lot that you can adjust right now. For then 1 year, when that happens, you are in a much better place. So I don't think we are adjusting much there, no. But who knows? Maybe now with Trump in government and all these new, measures from Facebook, from Apple to be less constrained, maybe even privacy will take a few steps back. I don't think so, because it was a big 4 or 5 years for Apple going on the restriction and privacy direction. But who knows,
Anything can happen. If you see
anything can happen.